with Resistance 3, we were the main thing we were wanting to do was really kind of embrace what Resistance is. And Resistance 2, we made some changes to go to the 2-weapon system, regenerative health, and I think with Resistance 3 we were like, you know what, let's go back to what made Resistance 1 awesome and just build on top of that. The Chimera have won. The military is still doing great, but as they came in and infected, the humans, and turned a lot of them into Grims and things like that. Now that the war's over, the military Chimera don't really need them anymore, and so they're not doing anything to support them. They've kind of let them go off, and they've sort of become naturalized, and we've actually, as we were developing the game, sort of just created this split between what we're calling the feral Chimera and the military Chimera. And you'll actually see in a few places in the game where they're actually fighting against each other, where as Grims or other feral Chimera are coming up and sort of getting close to the military bases, the military Chimera have no compunction about destroying them, and it creates some interesting dynamics in some of the later fights in the game. Resistance 2, we did a fair amount of pretty heavily scripting of telling enemies what to do, and the programmers did a great job of creating what we're calling these jobs and job boards, and we give different enemies jobs, like they can just use their innate behavior, they can be aggressive, or they can be flanking, or they can be defensive, and what that means for each enemy type is also different and creates different sort of behavior. So a steelhead, the ones with the augers and who can pop up their own shields, if you give them defensive, they tend to pop up a lot more shields and kind of hang back more. And we've got much more open levels, and so instead of controlling the enemies and telling them where to go, the enemies really, based on their jobs, decide what to do based on where the player is in the level at any given time. It creates a lot more dynamic battlefields. Even level designers, when they're playing their own levels, they'll sometimes be caught off guard or surprised by an enemy who's flanked them around in a way that they haven't seen before. And I think it creates a lot more replay. I think it creates a lot more interest in just playing through the setup, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So today we showed off the Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania level, and it's a kind of a darker level. You're going through a forest. You've just been literally dropped off out of a VTOL, and the Chimerans are hunting for you. And we introduced a new enemy today, the sniper hybrid. They've got these sniper rifles, but then they're also cloaked. It's dark, it's hard to see them, and basically a very deliberate winding through a forest as you get in these counter sniper battles with them. So we've completely overhauled the weapons, everything from the bullseye and the auger, the weapons we've had before. We've really rebuilt from the ground up. As you play through the game, every gun, as you use it, has has two upgrades that you can do to it, and usually those one will relate to the primary fire and one to the secondary fire. I think a great example of one is the bullseye tag. It's a weapon that we've had in the previous games. Whenever you tag an enemy with the secondary fire, all your primary shots will home in on tagging them. Once you've upgraded that, you can shoot an enemy, tag it, and it kind of creates this starburst of 6 or 8 additional tags that come off, and if those hit other enemies, you can actually have up to 3 enemies tagged at once, and so every shot you fire splits and will damage 3 enemies, and it becomes very useful in some of the later levels whenever you're fighting a lot of enemies at once.
Must have lost its way from deeper waters. What a fascinating creature. If only we had time to stop and examine the carcass.
And the franchise has always had a lot of sort of secrets and hints at a greater mysteries out there, and I think that some of those definitely get answered in this game. I think the franchise is interesting enough that it can support telling a lot of different stories, and I think we definitely wrap up some of those mysteries, but it's kind of like Lost. I don't know that all the mysteries will always be answered. I think sometimes it's more interesting for players to kind of guess at what things are. I think the Cloven got mentioned in like 2 brief intels in Resistance 1, and I don't know how many thousands of posts there have been by fans about what are the Cloven and all these theories and stuff. I almost feel that giving the full answer to that would make it less interesting. It's showing the monster instead of giving you that hint of what it is in horror movies. The game, with the extra year of production we've had, it's looking better than ever. It's playing better than ever. We're super excited to get this in the hands of players, and we finish it up in a few months, and it's coming out September 6th of this year. So pick it up.